welcome. It's thrilling. It's like I really do well under stress.
Yeah,
Hey guys,
yeah,
I'm gonna introduce our guest in a second, but I'm gonna finish out our conversation. Do you get a little two for one? Um, so yesterday I was like, I just because I have so much on my plate right now,
mhm,
and for me it's real thrilling. It's a lot of excitement, and then
for
I'm
sure.
thinking to myself, this feels almost like drugs, right? It's just like adrenaline. And then I'm like, this could also be a lot of stress. And I'm not sure if it's good for me or not.
I get that, and that's totally fair. And it's funny, like actually, honestly, that's a really good segue because like I think people underestimate like if you don't work well under pressure, like setup of Airbnbs and ordering like that time period of doing it within a certain time, plus you're talking about money and like mortgages and all that stuff, like it can be super. Like that's why you hire people like yourself,
Yeah.
like myself, who thrive under that pressure and like it's a big game essentially. Like
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. All right. Hey guys. Hey guys. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Short-Term Rental Confidential. I'm so excited for today. I have been wanting for like 6 months, probably, maybe longer, to be able to connect with Jenny Yee on this platform to showcase her because I think she's incredible. We were both in Austin just recently speaking at a short-term rental conference. And just, you meet some people and you're like, I fucking dig you. Like, I love your energy. We're meant to be friends. And
Yes.
then I get to learn what she does for a living. And she is so talented. She's not going to be able to show you some pictures, but I'll flood my Facebook with some pictures later so you guys can see her work. There was one where you can talk about it, but like, she's like showing this cute, amazing transformation. And then I'm like, that's got to be wallpaper. And then the next picture, she's like drawing on the wall. I'm like, what? Like my whole brain was like, that is amazing. So you guys don't know who Jenny Yee is. She runs a design firm specializing in Airbnb and boutique hotels, really worldwide. I know you just were recently over in Europe doing that as well. She also, I think, is the very first person to start to franchise her model. And so she's got so much going on. She's one of the top experts in the space. And she's done, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of projects. So she's going to be able to run us through, what's hot in design for short-term rental. What are those things that you can do to make your listing really pop, to give your customers an experience? Because right now, that's where the money's at. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
That was like the best intro ever. Like, thanks.
Thank you.
Also for y'all watching, yes, what you do see behind me is a vehicle. I am literally stopped on the side of the road because I thought I'm in Texas at the moment. I thought I was going to be able to make it to my destination in time. I did not. And because it's Texas and because it's the middle of nowhere, like I finally found a truck stop to pull into, but like for the past, I don't know, 30, 40 miles, I've literally been getting off every exit thinking I might be able to pull into somewhere. I've passed cows, I've passed fields, I've passed like everything that like I can't pull into. So this is not normally, but yes, see like trucks are driving by.
Yeah. Where are you in Texas, by the way?
Right now, I'm on my way to New Braunfels, so just south of Austin.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, I've
south of
got that on there.
Austin.
Okay.
Austin.
Set
Yeah.
up in New Braunfels. That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this one's going to be fun because it's right on the river. So this is a perfect example of being able to project things forward. So this is a little cottage on the river. New Braunfels is known for summertime. It's got tubing, it's got river, it's got water sports. And then during the fall, it's got a big, it was founded by German immigrants. So it's got a big like Oktoberfest, that kind of thing. So we could look at this property and say, hey, set it up as a standard, property, riverfront, charge a little bit more. That would work. But instead, what we're doing is we're actually going to project this forward and make this an event space as well. So knowing that we have access, knowing that we have this huge landscape between the backyard, like we're talking almost like a whole hill before we get to the river, we've got entire space to be able to hold places like weddings, hold things like parties, hold like New Braunfels has a high school like just down the way, so like photography studio, that kind of stuff. So knowing that we can upsell these kind of items just by the mere fact that the way the property is the way it is, we're thinking and taking advantage of this stuff and phasing it in phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is the actual setup of the property itself, so that's up and running for peak summer months. And then phase 2, we're going to come back in and do all sorts of lighting, turn like a shed into a photography studio, those kind of things. That way in your down season, there's something as an upsell. So you technically don't have a complete flat down season. You still have income coming in.
That's super smart. So let's talk design. I know everybody loves to talk design. It's so much fun. Let's talk about some of your favorite projects, because am I gonna name mine? I might name mine, and then
name yours. I want to
know. So I'll really like the Taylor Swift house that you did. So cute, you guys. Yeah. It is like the cute. Is it in Austin?
That one's actually in Nashville.
Nashville. Oh, such a great place for that. So freaking cute. Like, you guys, it is like I'm like, I need to go here. So they did a Taylor Swift house. What else have you done that you really loved?
Well, and I love the Taylor Swift house because like we really honed in. So one of the things that we pride ourselves in is doing a lot of research. Like, so whether we're theming it out or whether we're going local. So like the Taylor Swift house, we didn't just go like, oh, Taylor Swift, where like you could put pictures of her, etc. Did we do that? Yes. But every room is actually mimics one of her more popular songs. So like downstairs in that property, we were gearing it specifically towards bachelorettes. So we knew that the way that bachelorettes function, and like when girls get together, like everybody wants to do their makeup together. Everybody wants to do like that kind of stuff. So we did an entire space downstairs. Instead of doing like your stereotypical game room or something like that, we set it up where it has floor to ceiling LED mirrors. We had all the hair dryers. We had all like the tables with all the makeup brushes and areas where they could get together and they could all do their makeup together, and then made it very picture friendly. So that one we themed after the Calm Down music video. And people talk about, hey, I need an Instagrammable moment, or I need an Instagrammable wall. What we found now is that as we're talking and we're transitioning into experiences, people don't just like, they're not going to just take a picture in front of like one Instagram wall just because it's there. Like what they want to take pictures is of them experiencing and having a cool like life of what they're doing. So like we made that quote unquote very Instagrammable in that sense. Like as they're sitting there and as they're getting dressed and as they're being pretty and as they're having fun, they can do their own selfies, they can do their own group pictures. Like that's what kind of things that we start talking about, like self-marketing and Instagrammable is that, not just a wall.
I like just the thought of like, I'm gonna put AstroTurf on the wall. Like, and it's like, so you guys, it is like when I saw this, I'm like, this is so perfect, right? And I love the fact that you're like, we're gonna go beyond the Instagram wall and we're going to do an Instagram house. And it's just like oh gosh, you guys, like I can't even, like I look through your freaking pictures and I am just blown. Like everything is so perfect where I'm like, of course I freaking love it. So why don't we talk about some of the, what are like the, I'm just gonna like scroll through as you're talking so you guys can see her work. Why don't we talk about some of the trends that you're seeing in design? I know we just talked about, instead of doing an Instagram wall, really creating many spaces. The whole house can become an Instagram worthy experience for people. So why don't you share with people some of those trends that you're seeing?
So like on this one's a good example. So we just finished that property in Fernie. So like you'll see, so Bernie is in Texas and it is in Hill Country. So like we obviously went very Texas themed, but knowing that, one of the things that we're super intentional about doing is like, so we talk about like what hosts talk about and what kind of these social media host groups do is everybody, for example, is doing like a game room. And do I think that's wrong? No. But do I think that you could think a little bit more out of the box and really hone it towards your, perfect and ideal client? Yes. So like in Bernie, we had this extra room and we could have easily done a game room because that would have been, checking the box. But instead, we really honed in on how we knew people and why people traveled there. So people go to Bernie because it is wine country. It is like Texas's version of Napa. So you've got all the wineries, you've got all the distilleries, like that is what is the biggest draw. So instead of turning that's it. Instead of turning that room to a game room, we made it a wine room, a wine tasting room. So we really thought about like what people are going to do there. So they're going to go out, they're going to go to all these wineries, they're going to buy the wine and they're going to come back. So why not create a place where they can socialize, drink the wine that they've, bought, have fun, enjoy the views, and like really hone in on that experience, because that becomes a part of their memories and why they're going out there, is to really hone in on that aspect. So like when we talk about what's Instagrammable, for us, it really is like, why do people want to make memories where they're going? That is what really translate into quote unquote an Instagram moment, is like what becomes the memory that they want to capture or the memory they want to project to other people that are following them. Because let's be real, people post on social media to like for their friends too.
Yeah. Isn't it really all for your friends?
Yes, it is. It is. That's
we don't post for ourselves.
Talk about like marketing purposes, it is. So if we understand how people work, that's exactly what it is. So like this one is in Kentucky. So this was an arbitrage unit. So we made sure that everything that we did in that house was rental friendly. So it was a rental friendly design. But we found that at this huge warehouse. And again, honing in on the Kentucky, everybody knows Kentucky Derby. So like we didn't want to go full on Derby, but we wanted to lean in towards like the racing and the horse and the history and that kind of aspect. So we found one of those at this warehouse honestly in the middle of nowhere, actually. So it's about finding those unique things, because nobody, we had so many people comment on that picture and they're like, oh my gosh, I remember the Sandy horse when I used to go to the grocery store as a kid. Like it triggers a memory. So like that, because it triggers a memory, people are more than likely going to take pictures of that.
Yeah. Yes. That you find like the most I'm like, you must spend so much time curating items, because like literally you find the most amazing stuff, and I'm just like, and your eye too, to be able to find something like you find this and you're like, I'll put that on the wall and frame it.
Well, and honestly, so much of it is like that's a property in West Virginia. So we knew that the history of West Virginia, like West Virginia is known for their coal mining. Like that is what is associated from it. So like if we think about the history of it, that's what that ends up being, is a coal miner's hat from there. So like it a lot of times location really does dictate kind of the direction that we want to go for us. Like it doesn't take that much for us to kind of understand why. And that's location makes it so that's the unique, and that's what's fun about what we do. Like we have met so many local people and local antique owners and local artists, and like the people are really in that community. Like I enjoy being able to meet them and find them and tell their story too.
Yeah. Yes. It's just, so I live in a historic home, and like there's part of it's like it means something, and there's something with just the feel of it than a track home that looks like everything else. And you're with the work that you do, you're really putting so much more meaning and memory and like all of that instead of this standard Airbnb, right? And like, sure, can you do a standard Airbnb? You sure can.
Mhm.
but
But
you
but
really
why
want
not?
something, yeah,
Yes.
something incredible. All right. So this one's not my favorite because I'm not really down with this whole cave thing, but I'm like, I don't know
Yes.
about this.
Yes.
But wow, I'm sure kids like absolutely love it.
Yes. So that is in Colorado Springs in the Colorado. So and we've done a number of Colorado ones now, but we really wanted to go different instead of doing your Midwest because we've done that. We've honed in on the ranch style in Colorado, etc. But one of the things that was really neat about Colorado history is that there's a huge um, foundational aspect in Colorado of gold miners. Like
Mhm.
gold mine, like they would literally flock to Colorado, and that's where you get so much of their history of like if you start looking into it, some of the largest like nuggets of gold ever found in the United States have been found in Colorado. So like there's this whole history of gold mining there. So that's what we decided to do, was to turn that house into a gold mining cave and make it an experience. So like, because we think about, hey, when you go to Colorado, where else are you going to be able to like immerse yourself in like a faux cave, or really go into gold mining and then create an experience for also families and kids to do other than in Colorado? It just makes sense.
Love this.
Yes, Tampa. That is
Yeah,
Tampa.
what a statement wall. It's like you got, it's like so much. I look at it and I'm just like, wow,
Well,
wow.
and that is based on, so again, like we did our histories, we did our research. So in Tampa, they had this festival called Gasparilla. And imagine it like Mardi Gras, but for Tampa. So it's like based on pirates. So every year, this festival is huge. And like people have pirate boats. The whole community dresses up. It's like literally Tampa's version of Mardi Gras, but it's all pirate based. So for us, it made total sense, knowing that that's an attraction, to lean into this whole pirate concept to make this Airbnb there.
Love. We gonna get to one of my favorites here because I see we're getting to Cuba. I'm
Oh,
gonna talk about my
yes.
wall. My
Yes.
wall is coming. It's just like so cool. What's going on over here? Oh, yay, the
Yes.
rugby house.
Yep. So that one it's in Granger, Indiana. So it's just like it's near Notre Dame. So
Yeah.
we went Notre Dame theme for this. We went old school Notre Dame. Like we didn't want it to be kitschy. We didn't want it to seem like a sports bar, because we wanted the client, and we had really talked about who they want to attract. And they really wanted to attract the upscale alumni, like the older parents, the grandparents that have grandkids that are going to it, that are wanting to pay the money. So we really honed in on that feel for this house. And like that newspaper wall was, we found this book again, this warehouse, and all of that are Indiana newspapers ranging from the 50s all the way through the 70s. And then we turned that into an accent wall, and then did like vintage sports prints and vintage Notre Dame prints. But that's all like newspaper articles from Indiana.
Love it. I love it. I love everything you do. You take a theme, but then it doesn't come out kitschy because we're going to talk about this. There's a lot of times,
Hey,
even
that's
this one, right? Even this one, we're playing on,
yeah, super themed out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
still
super themed
not
out.
like cheesy, really done in a way, and so impeccably done, by the way.
Thank
Nightmare
you. I
Before
appreciate
Christmas.
that.
Nightmare Before Christmas. So fun.
Yes. So that client, she's actually a former Olympian, and she loves Nightmare Before Christmas, and she's in Indianapolis, and she's like, I really just want mine to completely stand out. So we're like, hey, let's just run with Tim Burton. Like, why freaking not? And that one was actually named one of the most unique Airbnbs in Indiana. So, yeah, and it's a lot of fun. And her and I talk about the marketing, and because you have to think about branding and marketing when you also talk about the stuff. Hosts think that like just because you have an Instagram, or just because you have like a social media, that's enough for branding purposes. It's not. Like everybody has an Instagram nowadays. So like for hers, we're really giving Jack Skeleton a whole life of its own. And like he's actually going to be going to am I here? Oh no.
Oh, kind of. All right. Come back. We're gonna take some time.
There you go.
There you go.
But like, so he's actually, Jack Skellington is going to go to all like the local restaurants and local bars and stuff and really create a whole like life of his own to bring in attention to the Airbnb.
Yeah, like Flat Stanley.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So this is, I'm sure you probably drew this. This is not the one that I'm talking about, but you know, she had an empty wall and she's like, I'm just like, what is going on? Oh, hey guys, thanks for joining us, by the way. Here's an rooms.
Yes, that was Sharpie. It was empty space and needed to be filled, and we were out of budget, so Sharpie came out.
Love it. I love it. Let's see what else we got down here. Oh, just such cool stuff. You're doing exterior stuff as well, so that's fun. What are you seeing in the coming year for design?
Yeah, so we really, so I've been at this for 4 years now. I was lucky to be one of the first designers traveling in this niche. So I really hit this at a time where there was the boom. So at that time, you really could just refresh properties and it was enough to book. Now that we're post-boom, now that we're hitting into a lot of regulations, now that this whole niche has really become a viable business space for most investors, you start to see that transition, which we expect to happen from what it was at the beginning to now people want pure experiences. So when it comes like design for me, the more we hone in on experience. So like, I don't like to talk about trends or design trends or not trends because I don't personally, it's just total personal. I don't think those are necessarily relevant because any trend that you quote unquote see in design, you know, most of the time you're talking about whether that's a property trend. What we're not talking about property trends. We're talking about what translates to someone who wants to stay there. Yeah. What translates to someone who wants to book, what translates to families or groups or singles or like, so I like to talk in terms of experiences and not necessarily design, because once you hone in on what experience you want to give a person, then the design comes afterwards.
Yeah, and the experience is something that becomes timeless. Where if we talk to trends, you know, they come and they go and they're ever changing. But if you are picking an experience that you're giving to somebody, that is evergreen. And so, Yes.
Oh. And that kind of just goes across to like, if you think about just in general, like when you travel or when anybody travels, like, what are some of the coolest restaurants that you've been to? Like there are places that, you know, have withstood the test of time. There are places that people have made their mark on. Like some of the coolest like pubs that you'll walk into have like walls where people have left their signatures. And like when you go in there, you just feel like you're walking into a piece of history. So like those type of things like translate to Airbnbs as well.
Yeah. So this is the wall I'm talking about.
Okay. Yes.
Because I thought when I looked at it, I was like, oh, this is great. And I was like, oh, that's such a cute wall. It looked like wallpaper. And then I continued to scroll and I think there was a video of you doing it. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
So that one is in the Dominican Republic and sourcing there is definitely different. So you don't get we brought some wallpaper with us, but because of the way that particular property was and the way that like air conditioning and things like that work overseas in different island areas, it's not like what you find normally here. So our wallpaper just wasn't going to cut it. It wasn't going to stay. The humidity and the HVAC systems, well, actually lack of HVAC systems wouldn't allow it. So sure enough, I couldn't leave a wall blank. So we went through a lot of Sharpies for that wall.
I bet. Yeah, it's so incredible. If you guys, we eventually gonna put this on podcast and you guys aren't gonna see any of the pictures, so you got to go to Jenny's Facebook and check out all the cool stuff she's doing. If you were gonna like, if you had somebody, I'm gonna tell you this, probably my biggest mistake I did was
Mhm.
trying to set up my first Airbnb by myself and being
Yeah,
out of state. And it would be
yeah,
like, okay, well, I'm gonna Amazon some stuff when I'm there. I'm gonna, source some stuff
mhm.
locally. And like I could do like the, beta version launch, and be like, okay, and knew that it was, it was fine enough to launch. We'll
Yeah,
put this in, and over time we'll add stuff. But let me also tell you, it was the biggest pain in the ass. Also, as time goes on, you have stuff you bought at the beginning, but then you're a year later and you're like,
yes,
it doesn't go anymore. It's like,
yes,
it's like
yes,
when you look at your closet after so many years, you have like a transition in life or you have kids
yes,
or whatever,
yeah,
and you walk
yeah,
into your closet and you're like, who is that person? Like, I don't even
yep,
know that person.
yep,
That's how the house feels a lot of the times where you're like, how do I get
for
this
sure,
to go off because I bought them at different times?
for sure.
That, and if you're spatially challenged like me, a lot of times I be sending stuff. I'm like, oh, I like that. Amazon. And it goes, and I'm like, it is the wrong size. Like,
Yes, yeah,
the rug is like way too small for the room. I'm like, oh, this is a
yep,
mess.
yep,
So yeah, looking forward to our new one being able to like out of the gates kind of launch something. And it definitely is
yeah,
upfront more of a financial commitment, but then also knowing that higher returns and then you can kind of like let some of this go. Um,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
let's talk about that process and
Yeah.
yeah.
So one of the biggest things that like honestly, so we do two different ways. We do set up from like ground, like from scratch when someone's just purchased, but then we also do what's called refreshes. So something that's like been operating a while and you just either need to modernize it, you need to theme it out, like it's not pulling the same return that you need to do. Half our clients are refreshes. So like if we think about that aspect most of the time in our refreshes, we're actually going in and we're getting rid of so much furniture. We're like, there is too much furniture in the space. And a lot of hosts are worried. Yeah, so that was the before. They get worried about getting rid of furniture because in their mind, they're like, well, I've spent money on this, or it's just sitting there, like I don't want to waste it. But you have to think about like your guest doesn't know what you spent. Like if you bought, if you spent, say, $500 on a dresser, I understand that's money out the door. But like if it's in the way and if it's clogging a space and you're just fitting 7 things in one room, your guest is not thinking, oh, that's a nice $500 dresser. They're thinking, I can't freaking walk around this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have to just think in terms of like guest stuff and not necessarily purchase stuff or host stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see if somebody wants to work with you, what does process look like?
Yeah, so they come to us. We can do a few different, we do virtual. We've gotten into a lot more virtual recently. I tend to personally not like virtual as much just because I happen to think, and I think you can tell the difference. And at this time, we can run virtual now because we've been in so many markets consistently. Like we understand there, so we have our go-to sources that are local. But I think there's something to be said about consistently setting up projects. And if you are working with a designer who has not been in those markets where they're consistently set up, that can potentially be a problem because the ability to adapt when you're on site is also necessary. So like we can plan all day long, but sometimes things just happen. Packages arrive damaged. It's not exactly how it's pictured. Investors didn't even know that something was on site because they have bought it unseen, just like what their realtor showed them. So like things happen and you have to have the ability to be super adaptable on site. So we prefer to do in person when we can. But when you come to us with either a refresh or it's an empty space, or we can actually project manage renovations. So if we do that, and for example, like renovations are needed, we already come up with the theme, so we can help you project manage or help you choose the design going in. So which really helps to add those extra like levels of layers of elements that people just pay attention to. My background before I started doing this was flipping. I used to flip houses, and then I had my own long-term and then short-term. So that aspect of flipping houses and working with contractors and subcontractors, but also sourcing materials that are cheaper than, you know, builder grade materials as far as cost, but look better than builder grade materials. Those are things that we do. So it really just kind of depends on like the scope of the project as far as what we handle.
Very cool. And then, I don't know, maybe go through the comments real quick and see if you guys have any questions, you can put them in here. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Sure.
Tell us your favorite Facebook Marketplace search words. That's a fucking good question.
Oh, that's a really good question. Okay, so when it comes to Facebook Marketplace, I'm going to say something pretty controversial, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's a hot topic. Facebook Marketplace is a freaking hot topic, just in general. There are a lot of designers out there who will tell you never touch Facebook Marketplace. There are hosts out there that are not willing to touch Facebook Marketplace. My issue is that some markets are really, 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 really good. Like Austin has a freaking phenomenal Facebook Marketplace. You can find vintage, you can find retro, you can find antiques, you can find couches. Like, you'd be surprised why people get rid of items. Sometimes they have bought something brand new and they can't return it, but it doesn't fit their space. Like, I have bought brand new couches that someone has literally had for a total of a month, and they're like, I just can't return this. So if you can save, the more you save on your big items, like your couches, your beds, things that normally cost more, the more money you have in your budget for all your little details. So like whenever I'm searching Facebook Marketplace, I'm kind of just, I'll scroll, I'll go specifically to the furniture section, and I'll just scroll without even searching anything. I'll just click furniture and I'll just scroll to see like what that market looks like. Like if it looks like, for example, like Gatlinburg's are like their Facebook Marketplace, it's all old stuff. That is stuff that I would likely get rid of from these cabins. So I don't even bother searching there. But like, I know that because I just kind of scrolled and all you see is old. So like, it depends on what you're looking for. So if you're looking for couches, don't just put couch, put like leather couch. Start to look for good quality things that you can find. So, or leather sectional, and then see what comes up. Or coffee tables are a great thing to source off of our Facebook Marketplace, because you can see some really interesting and unique non-standard coffee tables. So like, one of our things that we do in a lot of these places is that we will get antique trunks and use those as coffee tables, because we'll get the great size. It's not something that you'll find on like every day. And some of these come with like stories or signatures, or they'll have stuff in it. But like, search, antique trunks, and you will get them anywhere from $50 to $70, and it's the same size as a coffee table. And it's what, a third of the cost of a coffee table? So like things like coffee tables, things like side tables, search antiques, like those kind of things. You'll just be surprised what people label under that stuff. And that's where you start to find like really unique pieces that you wouldn't have like known to search for. There's not necessarily a word to search for it. So like, we have turned a number of times like hutches and buffets and stuff that we found in the antique section in Facebook Marketplace, we've turned those into coffee bars, or we've turned those into actual bars because they were just really cool looking, but that's not something that we'd have, initially looked at. We just found. So just honestly, just peruse the antique section. Yeah.
Let me ask you, is there things that you won't get off Facebook Marketplace where you're like,
So, no.
When you get like bed frames out there, or you're like, I guess.
So, yes and no. So if I'm doing something really themed out, so for example, like I've done a project in San Antonio, Texas, where we went really old school historic. So I did find the bed frames off of Facebook Marketplace because they were like antique bed frames. They were carved wood, very Texas style bed frames. we added additional support that we ordered off of it. Like we ordered the metal slats so that like provided the extra support that's needed. But yeah, we definitely ordered those because it fit the theme at the time.
Yeah.
So like, I won't say don't order or don't like not look at beds. And then you would also be surprised, like there are people now who buy like wholesale, like your local mom and pop store who buy wholesale mattresses, like the ones that you are literally buying at the store, but they bought them in bulk. So they're willing to sell them for half the cost. So like, you just never know who's doing business, like a local business who's using Facebook Marketplace as their way of marketing because they can't quite afford to like run ads just yet.
Yeah. Is there anywhere else that you're like, this is a hidden gem that nobody ever looks here?
Yes, honestly. So, when you go to a place, like search antiques in Google. Like we always will pull up a map and we'll search antique store. And that's some of the places where we found these giant warehouses. Like they're labeled antique stores, but most of these antique stores are not like what you think are your traditional like stuffy antique stores. There's just not another category. So like we found literally this 10,000 square foot warehouse in the middle of Florida for our Tampa projects that they labeled it an antique store, but we had so
like American
much
Pickers.
stuff. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Like you go in and you find this stuff, but they label it. So like go to your maps and just search antique store. And then like when you start to pull up the pictures in your map, you'll know whether it's a good one or not. Because what will show, like if the first thing they show you is a bunch of like really small furniture or really frilly chandeliers, then that's not the place you want to go to. If the pictures they're showing you are actually bulk pictures of furniture, that's the antique store you want to go to.
Okay. Very cool. Let's see. Where can people find you on social and how do they connect with you?
Yes, so my Facebook profile, so Jenny.Leann, Leann .ye. So that's my personal Facebook profile, but it's open. I post a lot of my background stuff on that, like behind the scenes kind of stuff is on that. Jenny Ye Designs, we have our own Facebook page for that. The website is being worked on, but most of it is updated. So JennyYeDesigns.com. And then you can find me on Instagram, Jenny Ye Designs. So if you search Jenny Ye Designs, like it all comes up.
You'll find it. And then let's talk about what is happening in the future for you, because I know you're launching or you have launched, and you told me you had like real STR friendly linens or something like that. So I need to know about that. But I know you mentioned you're launching a furniture line and then also franchising model.
Yes. So we're now at the point, so we are the most experienced in this space as far as we have a 3-figure portfolio. So with that comes, I tried to do a design academy about a year ago. It was for middleman purposes, it didn't work. So instead of relaunching that, we realized that, so for anybody that's interested in design, just in general, 70% of interior design businesses fail. Like that, it's a really high failure margin across the board, not just Airbnb. So with that, we have perfected the model of business. So part of what we want to do to help grow this niche is to really hone in and help designers or people who want to go into design with the business side too. So that's where our franchising comes in, is that you come in with us for the first year, we're handling the business side for you so that you can spend your time learning the creative side and learning the market and becoming market experts like we are. So that's really why we started the franchise model, is to empower other people. And, I have a passion for women, given my background, other women to genuinely have successful businesses. Because the thing about business is that you don't know you're not good at it until you fail. And by the time you fail at a business, that comes with a lot of heartache and a lot of money. And we don't want you failing at business. So the franchise model is that we're super excited because we're the first interior design firm ever to have franchise. So it's definitely a feat. And then we are launching for pre-order soon. One of the biggest things that we found for this space is that hosts we like good quality furniture, but we want it on an Amazon timeline. And that's the hard thing about like, you know, ordering from like Pottery Barn or Restoration Hardware, etc. It's like you have anywhere from a short lead time is like 3 months, and most lead times for pieces are like 6 to 9 months, depending on what you're ordering. And you can't do that when you have something damaged or when you're trying to like build out your property. So we have decided that to solve the problem, we're making high quality furniture actually based out of here in Texas that has those significantly shorter lead times specifically for investors.
Yeah. Because if you got a launch, you're like, what are you going to do? Do you postpone your launch because your dining table isn't here? Well, every moment that your dining table isn't here, that's just turning that cash register. And then also, you know, when you're trying to run a business, a lot of time our creative mind and our business mind, to be able to have both is sometimes very difficult. It's just it's often two different people. And so being able to have that as a support system is beautiful. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you, Jenny, for coming on. It was such a great, amazing interview, I guess you could call it. I don't know. I feel like we like hang out and we talk and, you know, I don't know. But so much fun. I love the work that you're doing. I just think you're such an amazing person in the space. And I'm so grateful that you came on today. And you guys, next week, we're going to go somewhere new. I don't know where we're going, but we're going to talk another market. Every week, Wednesday at noon.
I love that.
I don't know.
Every
Wednesday.
You know, you should get a globe. Like, or like a map of the U.S. and like close your eyes and just point or like throw a dart at it. And whatever the dart lands on, like that's the market for the next week.
Yeah. So I actually might get this for my office because I kind of digging this look back here with this thing. Kind of like it. So I might get it for my office, and I really dig this chair too. But I was thinking also I wanted to get a map of, I don't know, probably United States, because I don't know if I have any big global that's coming on yet. And like every week we'll put like a pin in the map of all the places that
you should
we talk to. So yeah, I think that
absolutely should.
Yeah. It'll be fun. Sourcing. I gotta go out and source the map. Cool. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.